Hello, and welcome to Longleat's third virtual safari. And what better place to begin than down under as we journey to Longleat's very own Australian outback. Opened in 2019, Koala Creek is home to one of Australia's most iconic animals, the southern koala. There are 5 koalas living here, each with their own unique personalities. Burke is the eldest. He was born in Melbourne Zoo and spent most of his life as the breeding male in Osaka Zoo in Japan. Dennis is the youngest. He came from Cleveland Wildlife Park with the girls. He will be our future breeding male. Violet is our most dominant koala. She is not afraid to bite the keepers if she isn't getting her own way. Kurong likes to keep herself to herself. She doesn't particularly like going outside and spends most of her time in the highest tree indoors. And Maisie is the cuddliest of our koalas. She loves people and will follow the keepers around to try and climb onto them. Each one utterly adorable. Despite often being referred to as koala bears, koalas are not in fact bears. Instead, they belong to a group of animals called marsupials, whereby females typically have a pouch in which their young develop. And this is where you see them spending most of their time, high up in the branches of trees, feeding or sleeping. In the wild, high vantage points like this also serve as protection from ground-dwelling predators, such as dingoes. Thankfully, there are no such dangers here at Longleat. Koalas are perfectly adapted for a life in the trees. If you look carefully, you may notice extra thick fur on their bottoms. That, along with a cartilaginous pad at the base of their spines, provides ample cushioning. This way, koalas can sit comfortably on branches for hours on end. Their diet consists of the leaves from eucalyptus trees. In fact, it's pretty much all they eat. They get almost all the water they need from those leaves too. Incredible! A fully grown koala can munch its way through 1 kilogram of leaves every single day, which is why we've planted over 4,000 of our very own eucalyptus trees here at Longleat, just to keep up with their very big appetites. Now, here's an interesting fact. Did you know eucalyptus leaves harbour a deadly secret? No? Well, it turns out they are highly toxic and harmful to most animals. Luckily for koalas, they have an unusually large intestine measuring about 2 meters long, which is packed with super microorganisms that detoxify the leaves. How clever is that? You may also notice our koalas hugging trees. They do this to keep cool. By pressing their bodies close to the trunk, koalas can lower their body temperature on hot summer days. But if there's one thing a koala does best, it's sleep. Believe it or not, they sleep for around 20 hours a day. And given koalas can live up to 20 years, that means over their lifetime, they may sleep for an incredible 145,600 hours. That's the equivalent of spending around 16 and a half years asleep in a tree. Imagine that. Makes me sleepy just looking at them. These remarkable animals were flown to Longleat by Singapore Airlines, all the way from Cleveland Wildlife Park in Adelaide, South Australia. Longleat is proud to be working in partnership with the International Koala Centre of Excellence, which is based there and whose aim is to fund and direct groundbreaking research into understanding and conserving this iconic species. By fostering collaborative partnerships, both nationally and internationally, the centre can share its vision globally and help protect this amazing animal. And what a treat to have them here. In fact, Longleat is home to the only koalas living in England and is the only place in Europe where you'll find southern koalas. Sleep tight, little ones. As we make our way around Koala Creek, there's another really interesting animal living here. Recognise this? That's right, it's a wombat. Or Ellie, a southern hairy-nosed wombat, to be precise. Ellie came from a wombat rescue centre based in Adelaide, South Australia. Longleat works closely with its ambassador, Manfred Heidi, who originally took her in and hand-reared her. Unfortunately, she was too young and wouldn't have had the necessary skills to survive being released back into the wild, so Longleat brought her here, to the UK, where she settled in nicely. It's quite fitting that a wombat has a home here at Koala Creek, because, believe it or not, a koala is a wombat's closest living relative. And just like koalas, wombats are marsupials. They are also nocturnal, living in underground burrows and emerging at night to feed on grasses. Wombats are perfectly adapted for a life both above and below ground. They have rodent-like teeth and very strong jaws that grip and tear the grasses that they eat. And check out those stout legs with broad paws. Equipped with strong, blunt claws, these animals are well suited to digging. Their underground burrows can be made up of several interconnecting tunnels and chambers, sometimes reaching 30 metres in length. That's as long as 2 double-decker buses. The tunnels are so perfectly designed that even when the air temperature above ground is unbearably hot, the temperature in the burrow remains at a constant 26 degrees in summer and 14 degrees Celsius in winter. That's like having built-in air conditioning. In order to cope with the harsh, arid habitat where they live, southern hairy-nosed wombats are adept at water conservation. They're so good that they get all the water they need from their food and do not need to drink. Unlike most wombats, however, Ellie isn't a fan of digging. She doesn't seem to like getting dirty. Instead, she much prefers the occasional head scratch from her keepers and a roll in the sand. After which she goes to sleep on her back and her belly up. Undoubtedly, the sign of a happy wombat. The final animals pottering around here in Koala Creek, keeping the koalas and the wombat company, is this. Can you guess what it is? Well, that nose is a big clue, because this is a long-nosed potteroo. It is quite funny looking, isn't it? Charles Darwin described it as an animal as big as a rabbit, but with the figure of a kangaroo. A quite fitting description, given this small marsupial belongs to a family often referred to as rat kangaroos. As its name suggests, this species has a long, tapering nose, perfect for sniffing out its favourite food, truffles, as it hops around the forest floor at night. Oh, and in case you're wondering what their names are, the keepers must have been feeling very nostalgic to Australia on naming day. Because they're called, among others, Boomerang, Gumdrop and Didgeridoo. With names like that, they should feel right at home here in Longleat. Time to move on. Right, things are about to go up a notch because we've just entered our giant otters and crocodile zone. Let's start with the croc, shall we? These are Cuban crocodiles. As their name suggests, they are from Cuba, one of the Caribbean islands of Central America. The two you can see here are females. The larger of the two, Fang, around 5 foot long. But in the wild, this crocodile has been known to grow to nearly 13 feet and weigh in excess of 125 kilograms. Despite its lazy-looking pose here at Longleat, the Cuban crocodile has the reputation of being one of the most aggressive crocodiles in the world. Armed with razor-sharp teeth and an incredible sense of smell, This crocodile is capable of not only catching prey that is foolish enough to go swimming in the swamps where it lives, but also by launching itself 7 feet out of the water to catch what's in the trees. It's an incredible feat, and one which it has evolved over the 2 million years that they have lived on our planet. Unfortunately, it's thought that only 3,000 Cuban crocodiles remain on this planet. So we're very fortunate indeed to be able to show you these remarkable animals here at Longleat. The other fascinating animals we have here are our giant South American river otters. The pair we have here, Innie and Gordito, are, it has to be said, something of sweethearts. They are inseparable and are often seen playing together. It's pretty much like that with otters in the wild too. Giant river otters are highly social, living together in large families. Those bonds forged in play makes otter families a force to be reckoned with, and for good reason. As you can see here, despite having the option of using their pool, otters love spending time on land, and they're incredibly well adapted for both environments. Thanks to a highly flexible spine and powerful tail for balance, they are capable of reaching speeds of up to 18 miles an hour on land. Their front feet have long, nimble fingers at their ends to help forage and manipulate food. In the water, they adopt a torpedo-like form, pushing their head forward and tucking their legs into their body to reduce drag. If they need a burst of speed, they kick with their rear legs. With webbed rear feet and subtle movements of their tail, they twist and turn in the water with ease, as fast as any fish, which is just as well, as they love eating them. Our otters are fed around 5 times each day, eating 4 to 6 kilograms of fish between them. They especially love trout. And given that their fur is waterproof, giant river otters stay nice and warm. It's like they're wearing their very own wetsuit. I think you'll agree. Otters are indeed masters and commanders of the Amazon River. The penultimate stop on our virtual safari journey now takes us to Animal Adventure, home to some amazing animals from all over the world. First up, meet Maggie, Bobby and Jake, our 3 blue and gold macaws. Showing off their admiring public on top of their fresh wood perches, here they'll chew at the bark, which helps to keep their beaks in tip-top condition. But their piece de resistance is a demonstration of their incredible agility, manoeuvring along their perch with ease thanks to their strong, dexterous feet and claws. Such delightful antics have their roots in the rainforests of Central and South America, where they live. Wild macaws in their jungle home are almost as acrobatic as monkeys, spending hours climbing and playing, using their feet to grasp and hold onto the branches in the trees where they feed. And with one of the most powerful beaks of any known bird, most nuts don't stand a chance. That, together with a dextile tongue, allows macaws to manipulate food with great precision. Such impressive food processing abilities is likely to be the reason why macaws have quite a varied diet. And we really do spoil ours. On a cold winter's day, for instance, they love nothing more than hot porridge and steamed vegetables, a hearty treat. With their raucous calls and stunning colours, macaws are without a doubt some of the most flamboyant and conspicuous members of the parrot family, and a welcome addition to Animal Adventure. Okay, time to move on. Now, for an animal that is super equipped to deal with its prey. Meet Longleat's royal python, 29-year-old Hermione. Growing to an impressive 1.8 meters, these snakes use heat-sensitive pits on either side of their mouth to detect body heat given off by their prey. They slither silently towards it before unleashing a lightning attack. And once they've caught it, the python reveals its deadliest attribute: constriction. Wrapping its body tightly around its victim, the python slowly squeezes the life out of its prey. Once dead, the python's multi-hinged jaw allows it to swallow its prey whole. It's so effective that pythons can eat prey 2 or 3 times wider than their own head. Time now for an animal that couldn't be more different if it tried. The rather curious-looking, but utterly adorable armadillo. There are around 20 different species of armadillos, all of them found in America and all of them natural oddballs. This is a 6-banded armadillo, one of our 4 living here at Longleat. Preston is the breeding male. Polly is the adult female. They recently gave birth to 2 delightful boys, Digby and Dougie. These brothers will eventually go off to other collections to start their own families. For an armour-plated little tank, they can move around surprisingly fast when they want to, escaping predators or just searching for one of their favourite foods, termites. They are omnivores, which means they'll eat plant or animal matter. So, they'll get stuck into things like eggs if they can find them, but it's much more typical to see them snuffling around with their nose up in the air and then burying it amongst some ants or termites, hoovering them up by the thousand. And that armour is going to make sure that any stings or bites aren't going to do them any harm whatsoever. Now hopefully you're getting a good look at those powerful claws. They're quite something, aren't they? Those are one of the armadillo's secret weapons, using them to scrape at and tear open termite mounds with ease to reach the tasty contents within. And should they ever feel threatened, they need to make a quick getaway, they bounce away like kangaroos. Like I say, quite the oddballs. From one of the cutest to the cruelest now, meet the Desertus wolf spider. Just before you run screaming from the room or grab a nearby cushion to hide your face, spare a thought for this exquisite arachnid, because sadly it has the title of being one of the world's rarest spiders, with only 4,000 individuals thought to remain. It lives on just one island, Desertus Grande, off the southeast coast of Madeira. But an invasive weed is taking over the area they live in, threatening their very existence. Longleat took delivery of some young spiders back in December 2017, and the keepers have been charged with raising an army of these rare arachnids. This biosecure area has state-of-the-art temperature regulation, replicating the exact conditions on the island in order to give the spiders the best possible chance of reaching adulthood. They eat anything from cockroaches to crickets, but in the wild they might even prey upon young lizards. They have a particularly gruesome but highly effective hunting strategy. Having caught their prey, the spider injects it with venom, immobilizing it and then turning its insides into soup. If you look carefully, you'll notice the adults have those really striking black and white bands around their legs and small bright red dots around the side of their mouths. They can reach an impressive 5 inches, which is technically known as a massive spider. The ones we're raising here at Longleat have a little way to go just yet. But with the efforts we're making, the hope is that these spiders will go on to reproduce, thus boosting the population before eventually being reintroduced back into the wild. Right, on to the next animal. Meet our Arabian rock hyraxes, a mother and her son to be precise, who go by the names Myrtle and Tambo. The soles of their feet are specially adapted, almost rubber-like, helping them to clamber over rocks. But this is where you'll often see our rock hyrax, sat here in the window on their favourite branch. And for good reason. It's directly under the heater. Now, here's a question for you. Which animal do you think is the rock hyrax's closest relative? Well, it might surprise you if I tell you it is in fact an elephant. I know, you weren't expecting that, were you? And just like elephants, they eat a variety of vegetables, hay and grasses. Right, there's just one more animal left here to meet in Animal Adventure. And we've saved the cutest for last. Meet Anthony, our fennec fox, currently single and looking for love. So our keepers are busy looking out for a girlfriend for him. Interested parties should be aware that he loves his food and will literally eat anything. And how could anyone resist that adorable face? And check out those ears. At around 6 inches long, it's almost as they were designed for another animal. But for the fennec fox, they serve a vital purpose. In the deserts of North Africa where they live, they have to contend with blistering temperatures. But those large, impressive ears radiate body heat, helping to keep the fox cool. Their feet are also especially hairy, further protecting them from the hot sand when digging their underground dens. And if right now he's looking a little sleepy, well, that's because fennec foxes are nocturnal. So they hunt and forage at night when the temperature drops. Sweet dreams, Anthony. Before we say goodbye, there's just time to meet a few more animals only a short walk away from Animal Adventure. First up, let's head to the Batcave. Housed in the stately surrounds of Longleat, this converted coach house is home to our colony of free-flying Egyptian fruit bats. As any visitor to Longleat will attest to, walking amongst them is quite an experience. 1 minute, they're hanging upside down from their specially constructed webbing on the ceiling, and then quite suddenly, without warning, they'll fly right past your face searching out the next fruity meal. Egyptian fruit bats not only have great eyesight, thus dispelling the expression as blind as a bat, but they also use an extraordinary system called echolocation to navigate. It's a foolproof tool which enables the bat to find its way into a roost or forage for food, all the way while avoiding obstacles such as trees, other bats, or in this case, our visitors. Here's how it works. The bat emits a sound which hits an object in its path. The resulting echo travels back to the bat and is then processed, giving the bat the necessary information about the world around it. It's like seeing with sound. And when you see them tucking into their favourite fruit, have a look at those teeth. Each one is very long and very strong, and for good reason. They are the ideal tool for puncturing the thick skin of the fruit that they eat. And eat they do. This species eats more fruit per their body weight than any other animals in the park. Right, time to move on. The last stop on our virtual safari takes us down towards Longleat's family farmyard, where we proudly present one of Australia's best bouncers, the red-necked wallaby, so named due to the patch of reddish fur around their necks and shoulders. This one, called Newt, is particularly special to us. He was hand-reared a few years ago, making him particularly friendly, so you'll often see him bouncing over enthusiastically to sit with the keepers. Although wallabies are generally solitary animals, you do find them coming together in groups like this, usually to forage for food. Just like meerkats, a group of these animals is known as a mob. But unlike the meerkats, these are not social animals. They do not work as a team, and they certainly don't have one individual on guard looking out for predators. It's every wallaby for itself, which is probably why they can all sometimes look a little skittish. The wonderful thing about keeping such a large breeding group, like we have here at Longleat, is that we regularly hear the pitter-patter of tiny feet. Baby wallabies are called joeys, and like the koalas we saw before, the young live in a pouch until they are around 8 or 9 months old. But the incredible part of their story is that they are born blind and deaf, weighing less than a gram, yet incredibly find their way through their mother's fur to the pouch. What a feat for something no bigger than a bean. And finally, at nearly 2 meters tall and capable of reaching speeds of 30 miles an hour, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to one of Australia's giant flightless birds, the emu. We have 3 living here at Longleat: Biscuit, Bounty and Bourbon. The keepers clearly had chocolate snacks on their minds during naming day. But as cute as their names may be, you still need to be on your guard when around emus. Those long legs can pack a powerful, if not deadly, kick. And check out those prehistoric-looking feet. Each toe is armed with a claw, capable of ripping the flesh of any predator that gets too close. Even though emus come from an arid landscape, they have a fascination with water, so it's not surprising that we often find them taking a dip in a bath on a hot day. Well, that's the end of your Longleat virtual safari. I hope you enjoyed meeting all the animals that make their home here at Longleat, and I think you'll agree, a pretty impressive bunch of creatures. We look forward to welcoming you to Longleat soon, where you can meet all our animals in person. If you're feeling particularly adventurous, don't forget to head to Animal Adventure, where you can get up close and personal to some of the animals you just met. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you at Longleat very soon.